Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out Chainlink's price chart, and unfortunately pretty much what we expected played out, meaning what we got a bit of a move on the downside, and I'm going to argue why this move down is actually going to continue in today's update. But before we get into all that, let me tell you, overall, I am actually very much optimistic in Chainlink, and if you want to be more optimistic than me, then okay, I guess you can think about having an extensionless structure, meaning what? This is probably 5 up into 1, followed by a correction for wave 2, and the next move from the current area, probably I'm gonna say a bit lower. Generally, before we take this low down here, about $21.5, we are going to have a massive move up into wave 3, 4, 5, and for example, that can be into a larger degree wave 5 right in here. This scenario, do not get me wrong, can absolutely be in play. Now, what is my opinion and what is actually my primary count? Well, you see, I don't really like to be that optimistic on any chart because the market is not really that kind to me in most cases. So I'm going to argue in Chainlink, we have probably completed the subwaves for a beautiful 1, 2, 3 correction for another move on the upside into wave 5 to about this point. And now it is actually time for, I'm gonna say, probably a rather deep move on the downside. But I don't really believe that we should say effective immediacy from the current point we're gonna get a massive move down in order to visit the lows down here about $17 area. No, I think at the moment we need to just take every single thing in Chainlink step by step. So are you ready? Let's dive in and see what is happening. And if I just zoom in a bit more, as you can see, in this phase up, finding a 5 wave is actually quite challenging. So I'm going to say most likely this is 5 wave, this is correction down, this is another 5 wave on the upside, meaning what? We are probably having, as opposed to an impulse in here, a beautiful ABC zigzag, and that to me opens the door to having most likely on a higher degree an ABC flat, which looks like this. This is our initial move down into a correction for wave B, which in it we're gonna take this initial high and then a very strong move down into C, and in it, as you can see, we are absolutely going to take the low of our A leg. What if we are not going to take it, and for example our C leg is going to end right around these areas? At that point, this pattern is called an ABC running flat. Nonetheless, the subwaves for both of these patterns are absolutely the same. ABC down into A, ABC, or maybe a WXY. From my POV, it's not really that important, into wave B and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. Very strong move down into our C leg. And if I just zoom a bit more, okay, so in my view, this is probably, excuse me, let's just take this object, another ABC, this time on the downside. This is ABC up, and what is going on in here? Let's actually start counting waves from this important high. Let's go on 15-minute chart. Maybe it's best to go on a less busy chart, let's say from trading view, because usually in this chart, yes, we do have somewhat better looking candlesticks. So here is my primary count. I'm thinking about having from this point to about here 5 down into 1 correction for wave 2, another move down into wave 3 correction for 4, and odds are at the moment we are on our way to complete another 5 wave into wave 5. And this is the key in my view, probably on a higher degree. This is going to be into wave 3 correction for 4, another move down into wave 5, and even on a higher degree, the story unfortunately once more is going to be the same, meaning what? This is a beautiful looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down into 1, followed by some sort of a WXY, probably a flat and a zigzag into wave 2. And what's next? Yes, you guessed it right, according to this count, a strong move down into wave 3 correction for 4, another move on the downside into wave 5. So as you can see, this scenario suggests our move down is going to continue, but you want to remember on a higher degree. What do we have? I'm gonna say, at least according to my primary case, you can have a different opinion. I will absolutely respect it. I'm not going to necessarily agree with it actually, but I do respect it. You can say, I don't know, maybe like this is an ABC zigzag and soon this whole phase is going to end. But from my POV, odds are we're gonna have an ABC in form of an expanded flat, suggesting this whole move is a correction structure. And sure, maybe around the current area we're not going to hit our final low, but this doesn't mean that we should be like overwhelmingly bearish. No, because we are having a corrective movement in here, most likely I think we should remain very much optimistic. It's just the fact that in the short term, our move down may continue a bit more. And I honestly do not believe that is going to be a bad sign at all. Now, let's go around here. You see, if you want to say that we have hit our final low around this area, I don't know, maybe this is like a very important support, then okay, fair enough. You have to be able to find, in terms of Elliott waves, off of the lowest low in here, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This specific example is called an impulsive movement. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, wave 3 is simply not allowed to be the smallest wave. And in terms of the subwaves, you know what's going on. 5 wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5. Okay. And for wave 2 and 4, we can have different scenarios. Let's say, sure, ABC into wave 2 and like a WXY into wave 4. And why is this so important? Let's go around here. Let's say, sure, in the short term, we are going to have this beautiful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with every single subwave, and the structures are going to be very much clear. Does this mean around the lows we should be very much optimistic and call, for example, I don't know, let's say this point our final low with a lot of confidence? I don't really believe so. Why? Because simply I'm not really in the business of catching absolute lows. Now, I would like to suggest to just wait a little bit more and be patient and see what is going to happen in the next phase. Are we going to have a very strong bounce back, meaning what? Yep, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without a whole lot of overlapping of the waves or not? If we get something like this, fair enough, this can be a very, very bullish sign suggesting we have hit our final low. Or on the other hand, are we going to get a very slow and choppy move on the upside, which between our pullbacks, you are constantly able to identify overlapping of the waves? If we get something like this, in my view, it's actually going to be a bit of a bearish sign suggesting our move down is going to continue a bit more. And at that point, we are going to make new updates and see what are our options. But again, as you can see, one way or the other, both of the scenarios suggest after completing this 5 wave, we are going to have a move on the upside. But please understand this, that move most likely is not even tradable and it's not even that important. What really matters is the shape of that move, because that is going to determine what is going on in here. And you can actually, based on it, argue whether we have hit our final low in Chainlink or not. But for now, let's not really get ahead of ourselves. Let's just focus on the current move in Chainlink, which I do think is going to continue a bit more. However, not to worry, it's all, in my view at least, just part of the bullish process. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Chainlink's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.